Hi, this is Nancy Flinchbaugh with spiritualseedlings.com, and today I am being interviewed by Jeffers Tracy. Karen is a climate educator, a loving grandmother, an adult services librarian, and one of the founding members of the Ma'am's Book Club in Springfield, Ohio.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeffers Tracy, and I'm here with my friend, Nancy Flinchbaugh. She's the author of 5 wonderful books, 3 fiction and 2 nonfiction, and a 6th one coming out soon, and whose first book in the first series is now about to be released on audio. So here we are to talk about Revelation in the Cave. So Nancy, maybe start by telling us just a little about yourself.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for interviewing me today. It's great to see you again. I am an author and I am a Christian contemplative who takes my job following Jesus very seriously. And so I work for peace, justice, and the well-being of all the people and creatures on our earth. I retired a couple of years ago as the Fair Housing and Mediation Coordinator for the city of Springfield, where I also did intercultural programming. And so I've been busy in retirement. In addition to my writing, I really enjoy dancing, gardening, photography, and I play my fiddle and dulcimer in local groups. I'm married to a wonderful man, Steve Schlatter, and we have 2 adult sons, Luke and Jacob.
Yes. You have many talents. And something I appreciate about being your friend is you make me think about deep things. So I have to say, I am definitely an armchair traveler. So what I loved about this book was getting to see the action taking place in Greece and Turkey and Italy, which I've never been to. And I found this story exciting and intellectually fascinating and also just delightful. Do you want to give a teaser to the people about the storyline?
Well, I like to call this book a cross between the Da Vinci Code and the Yaya Sisterhood. It's an alternative to Left Behind. And I introduce the magnificent and marvelous book club, the Ma'ams, and you get to join them, as Karen said, on a trip to Italy, Greece, and Turkey. And they embark on a spiritual adventure to dig up scrolls on an archaeological dig, scrolls from the 1st century. And there's some mystery and mayhem thrown in there. And you have a lot of fun as you read the book, looking at a fresh interpretation of the book of Revelation in the Bible and what John was writing to the 7 churches.
So I know that your writing arises from a deep communion and communication with the spirit of Earth itself. What problems in society did you feel were laid on your heart that you wanted to bring into the story of Revelation in the Cave?
Well, the main thing I was concerned about was to lift up Jesus's teachings. I believe that Jesus taught us to love. You know, the 2 great commandments are to love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. And, you know, he said, do not kill, which he said, you know, turn the other cheek. If somebody strikes you on one cheek, turn the other cheek. To me, that's a very strong message of nonviolence. And yet sometimes I find that Christians support war and a lot of violence within our society. And so I wanted to get back to the roots of the Bible and look at what's really going on, especially in the book of Revelation, which sometimes is, I think, misused to support violence. Okay.
What is your wish for people to gain from reading or listening to this book? What do you think they'll take away?
Well, I hope that they will enjoy visiting, especially Greece and Turkey, and jumping back into the site of the Roman Empire, the Greek city-state, Ephesus. And I hope they will find some spiritual enlightenment for themselves. We just finished the audio version, And the reader said it was really helpful to her in her own spiritual life. And that's what I hope, is that people will discover something that speaks to them.
Well, I know that with historical fiction, sometimes it's hard to tell what is based on fact and what the author just, created. So I understand that the Thekla cave is real and you went there. Can you tell us what that was like?
Yeah, so first of all, Thekla is a saint. She's been canonized by both the Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church. However, you will not find her in the Bible. She is, however, in the Acts of Paul and Thekla, which are some apocryphal writings that didn't make it into the Bible. And some theologians think that she's fiction also. But there is a cave painting on the hill overlooking the amphitheater in Ephesus. It's called Bubul Dag, and it's a cave that they believe dated back to the 1st and 2nd century, a place they think that people probably used to worship. And the cave paintings in this cave include a variety of people, and actually a lot of women, which was rather unusual in those times. Now, the cave itself probably dates back to the 5th or 6th century, not to the 1st century. But there is a picture that depicts the story of Paul and Thekla in the cave. And I got to go there. So I actually, first time I went to Ephesus, if you go read through the book, you'll get to go on the Journeys of Paul cruise, which my husband and I did, and you'll get to visit Ephesus. But that cave is not on the regular tour. So we went back a second time, and I was very fortunate that the Renate Pillinger, who's the head of archaeology, actually she's from Vienna, Austria, but she heads up the archaeological site at Ephesus. She gave me permission to visit the cave. And at the time, there were Italian art restorators there working on preserving the art in the cave, and also some Turkish people. And they were so gracious. They led us up to the cave and served us tea, let me take pictures and talk to us about the cave and the paintings there.
Was it hard to get to? Was it very high up?
It was, and you'll see in the book, the ma'ams have a little difficulty. It was kind of a steep hill, but one of the Turkish woman actually was there. She came down the hill and helped my husband and I climb the hill to visit. So a little difficult to get there.
I just want to say that I'm so impressed with how your life is full of fun and adventure. Can you give us a glimpse of what's next for you, your new ideas and projects?
Well, first of all, after this book, I've written 2 more in the Ma'am series, Revelation at the Labyrinth, where the Ma'ams did become very concerned about the climate changing, and they started a group home for women in recovery called Farming and Restoring with the Ma'ams, as well as a house for men, the Solar Powerhouse. And that book was about recovery and reentry and climate, facing the changing climate. And then a 3rd book after that, Revelation and the Roots, the Ma'ams take their group home members to Ireland to explore their roots. And I'm actually working on the 4th in the series, Revelation on the Sea Island. I've just finished my first draft of that. But what's coming out next is Mariah of the Wind, which is a love story about a young woman who's in love with the earth and in love with a wind scientist who unfortunately is being stalked by a troll from the fossil fuel industry. It's set in Ohio during the pandemic. And again, I'm dealing with, in these changing times, what can we do to try to address the changing climate? And there are a lot of solutions that are offered in that book.
I can hardly wait to read that one. When is that one going to be available?
Well, it's currently in edit with the publisher.
Okay.
It will be coming out within the next month or 2.
Oh, good. I'll be first on the list.
Thank you.
So how do people access this new audiobook, Revelation in the Cave? And how do they read or listen to it? Where do they find it? And how can they connect with you to follow your other writings and creative and spiritual pursuits?
Well, you can find links to my book on my website, spiritualseedlings.com and nancyflinchbaugh.com. Revelation in the Cave will be released as an Audible book, so you find it exclusively on Amazon, and the links will be on my webpage. So I will put those links for you at the end of this interview. You can also email me at nancy.flinchbaugh@gmail. On Facebook, Revelation in the Cave has its own Facebook page, so look for Revelation in the Cave, as well as Nancy Flinchbaugh Author. And I have two Facebook groups, the MAMs and also Spiritual Seedlings. One thing I didn't mention is I have two nonfiction books, Letters from the Earth and Awakening, a Contemplative Primer on Learning to Sit, which also kind of track my spiritual path and teaching others. And Letters from the Earth is like actually listening to the earth, or I believe messages from God to help us navigate through these challenging times of the changing climate.
And both of those books are books that I return to over and over because they're so deep that I think I get a different layer every time I go back to them. I want to thank you for your time, and for also I want to thank you for your following the promptings of Spirit that led you to do this work and to put these beautiful thoughts and ideas into books that people can absorb in a new way. Like the fiction books, you can live through it, and that's what's so powerful about fiction. It's not not at all preachy. You learn by doing, by experiencing these wonderful adventures, and they are adventurous. So thank you, Nancy, for sharing your light.
Thank you for this interview, Karen. Have a great day.
Thank you.
This is Nancy Flinchbaugh with Spiritual Seedlings. Revelation in the Cave is now available in audio on Amazon, Audible, and iTunes, where you can also find it as a Kindle book and paperback. You can find links to purchase Revelation in the Cave on my website at spiritualseedlings.com/revelation-in-the-cave, and also on nancyflinchbaugh.com. Find me on the web on my websites and also on Facebook at Nancy Flinchbaugh Author, as well as the Revelation in the Cave Facebook page. On YouTube, you can find me as Nancy Flinchbaugh at Nancy Flinchbaugh, and on Instagram, flinchbaugh.nancy. Thank you for listening, and I hope you'll check out my books.